True routes often become the most memorable and impactful part of a visual novel experience when they exist. In this video, I'm going to be exploring why true routes are crucial when included, highlight some well-executed examples, and discuss potential pitfalls and areas for improvement when they aren't that good. For those unfamiliar, a true route in a visual novel typically unlocks after completing other character routes. In a visual novel with 4 to 6 routes, the true route is generally the final one, tying together themes from the common route and other love interest routes into a satisfying conclusion that builds on everything that came before. I would say true routes shine brightest in plot-heavy visual novels. Ideally, each route builds upon various themes and characters, culminating in a final route that weaves together all elements both emotionally and thematically. If a Plotge wants to use routes while still maintaining a cohesive narrative, it needs to use each route to build up information and character development that eventually leads to a satisfying true route. I personally think Baldr Sky exemplifies this approach brilliantly. Routes branch early and can only be read after completing their previous route. Each route serves a distinct purpose in developing characters, exploring the unknown sci-fi dystopia, and building mystery around the true heroine. The game's structure allows for a gradual unveiling of its complex world and intricate plot. In Baldr Sky, the protagonist, Cole, initially starts with full amnesia, but slowly regains his memories from previous routes, creating a sense of progression and discovery. The true route finally brings all the pieces together from previous routes, delivering a satisfying and comprehensive conclusion, as well as some incredibly memorable gameplay fight scenes. Fullmetal Daemon Muramasa's true route, known as the Conqueror route, while good, I would say is a bit more mixed on its execution. The beginning and middle sections suffer from pacing issues, but I would say the Demon ending branch specifically stands out as a narrative highlight of the visual novel. This specific route serves as a culmination of Kageyaki's journey, occurring after the main villain's defeat. Unlike the sometimes drawn-out earlier sections' fights and political stuff, this chapter is relatively concise and character-focused. It explores the consequences of Kageyaki's choices, particularly regarding his Tsurugi Mecha Muramasa. I like how this chapter epilogue of sorts showcases the surviving major characters' situations and how their relationships with Kageyaki reflect their roles and their mindsets after the main conflict. It also allows Kageyaki himself to reflect on his place in the world after the main antagonist's defeat, providing a more nuanced and arguably more interesting introspection than the final confrontation itself. This epilogue makes the whole Conqueror route worth it, effectively tying together the narrative threads and character arcs developed throughout the visual novel. Muv-Luv Alternative is a weird case, as it's basically a true route packaged as its own separate purchase. While compelling on its own, it suffers from structural issues related to its position as a true route. The requirement for players to complete 30 to 40 or possibly even more hours of extra and unlimited combined before accessing Alternative creates a high barrier of entry, which to me inflates Alternative scores on VNDB and Arrow Gamescape. The genre shift between installments can be jarring, with Muv-Luv Extra being mostly comedic slice of life, many find overly long or just unappealing. Additionally, the beginning of Alternative rehashes much of Unlimited, further padding the read time unnecessarily. While Alternative itself has issues like lengthy info dumps and controversial scenes, these are generally considered minor compared to the structural problems. The main issue for me lies in how the 30 to 40 hours of Extra and Unlimited don't consistently build upon themes explored in Alternative. The often cited theme of appreciating happier times that fans like to say isn't directly tackled on much in Alternative, leading to what some might see as fan interpretation rather than intentional thematic development from the developers. Kunado Chronicles' Haruhime route is a much more overt example of a disappointing plot-heavy true route. Despite Haruhime's status as the true heroine, her route focuses more on plot elements rather than character development on her part, leaving her character feeling underutilized. But even if we just consider the plot, the route suffers from insufficient build-up. While entertaining, it lacks emotional investment as the rest of the story builds up setting elements and minor characters that ultimately play very minimal roles in Haruhime's route. This results in a true route that, while interesting kind of, is generally considered underwhelming and potentially the weakest of all heroine routes in the game in overall quality. Mystery visual novels, in theory, are perhaps the ideal genre for implementing true routes. The multiple route mystery category on VNDB exemplifies this, focusing on stories that gradually reveal information across different paths. This structure allows for satisfying plot twists and revelations that culminate in the true route. Chaos Child's Silent Sky stands out as an excellent example of a well-executed true route in the mystery genre. This unique true ending serves as the epilogue to the common route's first ending. While some argue that forcing players to read the heroine routes right after the common route is unnecessary, these routes provide a natural break after the intense common route ending and explore different characters and sci-fi elements crucial to Silent Sky, at least to me. Without delving into spoilers, Silent Sky introduces new mysteries and plot twists that complement the revelations at the end of the common route. More importantly, it delivers a powerful, thematic, and emotional message that beautifully develops the main characters, culminating in a fitting, bittersweet ending that sets it apart from many other mystery visual novel conclusions. In stark contrast, I consider I/O or input-output demonstrates how not to execute a mystery visual novel's true route. Despite drawing inspiration from the acclaimed Infinity series and featuring complex sci-fi elements, I think input-output's E' true route falls flat. Unfortunately, mediocre endings seem to be a common issue for mystery visual novels. Remember 11 ends on a cliffhanger, Root Double has an excessive amount of required flashbacks, and Raging Loop has a controversial aspect that upsets many players. Even Zero Escapes' Zero Time Dilemma, barely a visual novel in a series where it's arguable if the series is a visual novel or not, is generally viewed as a disappointment, particularly due to its convoluted and unsatisfying explanations. Life is simply unfair. Surprisingly, even some romance-focused slice-of-life visual novels incorporate true routes. Most of the time, they're more like implied true routes as you don't need to unlock them. Some still do go for the traditional locked true route structure. For example, I consider Ria's route in Kinkoi Golden Loveriche as a standout, well-executed true route in a romance-focused visual novel. The childhood friendship between Ria and the protagonist Oro is developed throughout the game, making their eventual romance in the true route feel earned and emotionally impactful. In contrast, Yume's route in Hoshizora no Memoria, while featuring a heroine I like more than Ria, has her route fall short in its execution. The build-up to her route relies heavily on sparse flashbacks and unnecessarily conceals her actual name for a long time. The lack of meaningful interactions with Yume until her actual route starts necessitates what amounts to a second common route once her story begins. This structure results in rushed melodrama and an abrupt ending, forcing readers to seek closure in the fandisc Eternal Heart. The requirement of hiding Yume through brief flashbacks for an extended period serves as a cautionary example of how not to build up a romance-heavy true route. While you could read Yume's route in the original visual novel and then immediately read Eternal Heart, which will mitigate the issue somewhat, players limited to the original Hoshizora no Memoria may find Yume's route underdeveloped. The situation becomes even more problematic for those who consider Mare the actual true heroine, as her development suffers even more from this rushed structure. Having covered genres that commonly employ true routes, now I'm going to explore different types of true route executions, their effectiveness, and potential pitfalls. The original Majikoi's Agave route stands out as what I consider a truly excellent true route. By focusing on the Kazuma family group dynamic rather than romance, it allows for more serious exploration of themes built throughout the series. The route's strength lies in its ability to leverage character development from previous routes, culminating in intense yet meaningful confrontations and a strong sense of camaraderie among the main friend group. In contrast, Comyu's Kagome route, while attempting a similar multi-character focused approach, falls short for me. Despite some interesting plot twists, the route struggles to balance its many elements effectively. Major characters still feel underdeveloped, and the emotional impact of the group's unity is diminished due to insufficient build-up. The route's issues are compounded by the main character Akihito still not developing well and continuing to fall into his fake feminist attitude and screwing different girls throughout, as well as having an ending that feels like sequel bait for a continuation that never materialized. Visual novels made by Visual Arts' Key, particularly those written by Jun Maeda, are known for their key magic. Convenient plot devices that lead to unexpectedly happy endings and otherwise super sad, arguably depressing routes. While many seem to appreciate these endings for their emotional scenes and thematic resonance, others, myself included, find the build-up to them lacking. The use of vague, cryptic foreshadowing often feels insufficient to justify these dramatic turnarounds by the end of the final true routes. Notable examples include Clannad's alternate world, IU's situation in canon, and the explanation of the secret of the world in Little Busters. I will personally never understand how Jun Maeda and all the key writers continue to copy his tropes and still continue to be successful with it. There's only so many times you can be shown a magic trick before it gets old, at least to me. In my opinion, Symphonic Rain demonstrates a more effective use of the key magic trope. While not perfect, as much of its world building is confined to optional side stories, the magical elements, at least to me, are more prominently featured earlier in the narrative. This approach provides better build-up and a more logical resolution to the stories and mysteries, at least for me. Bokuten, Why I Became an Angel by Overdrive, strikes a balance between depressing moments and a bittersweet resolution, particularly in its true route. This approach allows for emotional depth while avoiding the pitfalls of overly convenient happy endings, resulting in some of the most impactful scenes in visual novel storytelling for me. It demonstrates a narrative that can incorporate magical elements in a slice-of-life setting without resorting to a Deus Ex Machina ending, effectively blending Nakige and Utsuge tropes with excellent character development that feels fitting for the characters' journeys. As said earlier, some visual novels, particularly in the moege genre, feature implied true routes, or routes that aren't necessarily played last. These games often have a love interest with noticeably more developed writing or longer routes or advertising, regardless of whether the heroine ends up being the most popular or not. Ubisoft frequently employs this, notably with characters like Ayase in Riddle Joker and Nene in Sabbat of the Witch. Nene's case is particularly unique as she receives special treatment with 2 interconnected routes that directly continue each other's narrative. If My Hearted Wings breaks the typical true route structure by requiring players to complete Kotori's route, clearly implied to be the true route, before unlocking Amane's. This works effectively because much of Kotori's character development occurs in the common route, making her romance feel natural. It kind of gives off the suggestion that the writer may have initially intended this to be a linear story featuring Kotori. In Aokana 4 Rhythms Across the Blue, Asuka is heavily implied to be the main heroine, despite not receiving a fan disc like the more popular Mashiro and Misaki. The clear foreshadowing in Asuka's route providing the most healthy development for the protagonist, Masaya, suggests that this was intended to be the true route, even if it wasn't the most popular. Aokana also has no locked routes, with some fan orders even suggesting reading Asuka's route first, but I personally think Asuka's is best saved last on an emotional storytelling level. These moege examples demonstrate that while writers may have a clear preference for a true heroine, they must balance this with the player's expectation of choice in route-based romance visual novels. Thankfully, most writers who imply true routes still put solid effort in the non-true routes. Now we're going to go into chapter-based ladder route structures, which I consider an underappreciated structure in visual novels. These routes are designed to be linear, allowing every heroine to receive character development along the main storyline. The key distinction is that the player ultimately chooses to romance only the true heroine for the full story. While players can branch off to romance other characters, doing so means missing out on further development of the true heroine and possibly other stories. This structure's strength lies in its ability to give each character their moment to shine and keeping their development canon in the true route, making these some of the most compelling in the genre for me. G-senjou no Maou is a popular visual novel known for its very memorable true route, with side routes often considered hit or miss. The VN's strength lies in how the protagonist's interactions with other girls contribute to powerful moments in the true ending. The main heroine, Haru, remains a constant and important character throughout, their development building up to the final chapter, regardless of one's opinions on the plot twists. Overdrive's MUSICUS, while not strictly chapter-based, employs a ladder route structure where paths diverge significantly from different parts of the common route. In one route, the protagonist, Kei, focuses on school, bypassing the professional band scene entirely. The implied true route, Mikazuki's, sees Kei and his band, Dr. Flower, fully commit to the professional music scene, exploring Mikazuki's untapped potential as a singer, a theme heavily built up throughout the narrative. In Amatsutsumi, Hotaru's route is often cited as the most memorable part of this visual novel. It exemplifies the ladder route-based true route extremely well, building up Hotaru's character throughout the visual novel while developing the protagonist's Kotodama powers. This culminates in 2 compelling endings, each satisfying for different reasons. The stories of the first 3 heroines are crucial in developing the main character, Makoto, both in terms of his powers and his humanity. His development proves integral to the emotional impact of the true route, demonstrating how the ladder structure can create a cohesive and emotionally satisfying narrative. There are many more visual novels with noteworthy true routes I could have discussed, like Nukatashi 1, which excellently ties together themes from its first 3 routes, or how My Fair Princess serves how not to execute a moege true route. Having said that, I've explained how, with true routes, when executed well, can become the most memorable parts of a visual novel. They have the potential to bring together overarching themes or provide proper character development for the protagonist and or the main love interest. On the other hand, poor implementation can lead to disappointment, potentially leaving readers with a sour taste that overshadows an otherwise decent or even good experience. I hope this video has shed light on the types of visual novels to look out for and why their true routes are significant. The diverse ways they could be implemented, from multi-character focused routes to implied true routes and chapter-based ladder structures, demonstrates the versatility of true routes in visual novels. What are your thoughts on this topic? Do you have favorite visual novels, true routes that you'd like to share? Feel free to leave a comment below with your opinions and experiences.